Good morning, everyone. This is Chinmay from Make Auto Clinic, Pune. Today, we are going to share some information which is a absolute vital information. It's regarding the two-wheeler lubrication system or the oil configuration, what we can say. Uh, Generally, we buy a lot of or different types of grades, brands, oils from the shop for the motorcycle. Why we need lubrication? Why we need oil? Why we need different brand? Why we need different grade for that? I do understand you love your motorcycle a lot, but if you use the wrong oil, then what will happen? Do you know even about that? Generally, many people says that this oil is the best, this oil is worst, or oil is not good, or the machine is not working properly, or having some kind of vibration or something like that. Exactly what happens? It's completely depending on your judgment. But judgment will work. No, not possible. See, the thing is what you need to know basically which kind of a brand and which kind of a oil or which kind of a grade what you're basically buying for your motorcycle is very much important. There are some grades which are defined by the companies. In the beginning of this video, I must have shown some slides. You must have seen some slides which are basically showing API, JASO, MB, CF, SM, SL, all these kinds of a grade like 20W40, 15W50 or 15W40 or 10W30 or something like that. Why we need these kind of grades? What do you mean by this? What does this W stands for in 10W30? What does this W stands for? What is the meaning of API? What is the meaning of JASO? What is the meaning of MB or MA or MA2? Why we need all those things? Generally, our motorcycles, all the motorcycles apart from Enfield, precisely to be very precise, Enfield is having a little bit different kind of engine. Older engine apart from UC like AVL engine or standard engine has got three parts, three compartments. Let's start from the bullet only, because that is the only one engine which is having separate section. Then we will come to UC like unit construction engine. In Enfield there are three parts, three compartments. One is your gearbox, one is main motor which is called engine, and the third thing is the clutch system. In the clutch you need to have oil which is based on clutch complaint oil. Every oil is not same. Oil engineering is very tough. I have little bit information, that is why I'm trying to share with you. A lot of companies had described. Now, why we need API? Why we need this JASO? In the clutch, every vehicle, basically in two-wheeler system or two-wheeler segment, every clutch is a basically wet clutch. Now, for the wet clutch, you need to know which oil grade is perfect. Forget about the brand. I'm not talking about the brand and the quality right now. I'm talking about the grade only. Which grade is perfect for wet clutch? On the bottle you will see MA or MA2, that is JASO MA or MA2, one of them, either JASO MA or JASO MA2. They describe basically MA or MA2 complaint. This oil is MA MA2 complaint, that means wet clutch complaint. That means you have to use this oil only for wet clutch. You cannot use randomly any kind of a different oil. MA or MA2 is basically given for wet clutch system. Now in Enfield, older engines, pre-UC engines, we can say wet clutch system or the clutch system is separate. It has got a separate compartment. Now what happens inside? Basically the clutch plates are always immersed in or dipped in oil. So that means you have to use MA or MA2 complaint oil. That means what exactly you have to do? The wet clutch means it requires very less friction. Very less friction in the sense what? Ma 2 has got such kind of a chemical composition which will have kind of a friction, which requires friction. Basically wet clutch based on friction. If we use non Ma 2 clutch complaint or non Ma 2 complaint oil in the clutch system, the clutch will slip, because the concept of clutch is basically friction. It basically clutches each other. It is based on friction. If you add something which is non Ma 2, that means there are some friction busters in the oil, present in the oil, which will create a lot of problem, that will slip the clutch. that will exactly slip the clutch like this way. That means you cannot use non-MA-MA2 complaint. That means you cannot use non-MA-MA2 complaint oil. You have to specifically see the specification of the oil on the given bottle. If the if MA2 is written, or if it is written only suitable for motorcycles, then only you can use. Some people I have seen that most of the time they use car oil, and then they says that it's a very smooth oil. Of course it is smooth, because a lot of friction busters are there inside the oil. That means there is a lot of clutch friction, less clutch friction. This happens after say few hundred kilometers. When you start, when you start using the bike, after few hundred kilometers the clutch starts slipping. At that time you realize that there is some problem. But when you pour the oil, when you pour new oil which is a car related, or any four-wheeler oil, you feel that the oil is, or the engine is very smooth. No, that is a completely wrong strategy or concept what you have in your mind. You have to change your mind. You have to basically understand what is MA and MA2. Jasso is basically coming from Japanese side. So Jasso has described MA2 complaint oil, that is only for wet clutch. Some of the bikes, there are hardly some bikes which are having no wet clutch system, like Ducati and all. But other than that, maximum I have seen all the clutches are basically wet clutch in two-wheeler. Now second is API. API standards. API is basically from American Petroleum Institutes. That means they are describing some grades. Now on the bottle you will see, or on the multi-grade oil you will see CF, SM, or CF4 or SN or something like that. Stands for spark ignition system, and C stands for compression engines. Compression engines in the sense diesel engine, and S stands for spark ignition. Now if it is SCF/SF or SM, that means it's a multi-grade oil. That means you can use in diesel engines as well as in petrol engines, but non-MA2, neither is MB, right? Now the thing is, what nothing is written on the bottle like MA2. That means this oil is suitable only for the cars. But in pre-UC engines, the wet clutch system is totally different. The compartment is totally different, and the main engine has got nothing to do with clutch oil. So definitely you can use multi-grade oil in the pre-UC engine, but not UC engine, that is unit construction engine. So pre-UC engines you can fill up car engine oils without any problem. The gearbox has got EP90, that is extra pressure oil inside the gearbox. It is basically having a lot of torque and load, so that is why it requires extra pressure oil grade in the gearbox. So two things I told you. One is your clutch system, clutch complaint oil, that is MA or MA2. Second is your EP90, that is extra pressure, and 90 or 190, whatever the description company has given you. And the third thing is motor oil. The motor oil you can, as I said, that multi-grade oil you can use definitely in pre-UC engines. Now let's talk about UC engine. I have to complete some of the part from pre-UC and UC as well. In UC engine, clutch oil and the gearbox oil and the engine oil is common. That means you have to use only MA or MA2 complaint oil. You cannot use car engine oil, otherwise it will start showing you, though it will show you smooth days, but it will show you some negative effect as well. You will lose your high RPM, you will lose your top speed or something like that, because there are some friction busters or the chemicals they have added in the oil, which basically makes very less friction. That means the clutch will basically start slipping around. We cannot use that. So we have to use such kind of oil which has got MA or MA2. Now let's start about the grade again. The actual grade of engine oil, the actual grade of the engine oil has to be, if it is motorcycle, API, first you have to check API. It has to be somewhere near to SM or SN. Now what is MN? The S stands for, as I said, spark ignition system, and the M stands for a higher grade. Higher grade means it's like alphabetically A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M. Now right now in the market, M grade you will get in the market for the motorcycle. So that is API SM. The second grade you have to check, if your vehicle is wet clutch, then you have to check Jasso series, that is MA or MA2. So the actual grade is now, if it is, for example, I'm just telling you, it is API SM Jasso MA. This is the half portion. Now you have to check which grade oil you want to use according to the weather, like 10W30, 20W40, or 15W50. The W stands for winter. In all the three grades which I mentioned earlier, W stands for winter. That means 15W50. That means below 15 degree, it will start becoming thick. The oil will start becoming thick, and above 50, the oil will start becoming thin because of the temperature, because of the heat. So you have to basically check out which oil you need to have to your for your motorcycle in depends on area and weather. If for example, if I'm in Leh Ladakh, then I might go for 10W30, or I might go for lower than that, or 5W40 if it is available in the market. So that means I have to decide which oil I should use for the motorcycle according to the weather. So the actual grade of the motorcycle is basically API SM JASO MA 10W30. This is the actual grade. When you go to shop, when you go to any oil shop, you basically ask for, I need a motorcycle oil, engine oil. He just give you the oil, some random. You just tell him that you basically ask for 20W40. But what is the meaning of 20W40? The 20W40 means below 20 degrees it will start becoming thick, and above 40 degree it will start becoming thin. That means you are you going to get only that? No, you have to think about other also, because in 1 liter pack you also get multi-grade oil which you cannot use for motorcycles. So basically you have to use a complete grade which you have to understand first of all, which you have to pour, which you want to pour in the motorcycle. You have to understand first of all which grade is suitable for your motorcycle. API has to be there, JASO has to be there, and 10W or 20W or 15W for 40 or 50, whatever the grade is there, you have to but just check it on the a liter pack or a 3 liter pack or whatever the packings they are providing. This is a pre-UC engine. I'll just repeat again. 10W30 is good for clutch. It is basically MA compliant. That means it's a wet clutch. Since it's a wet clutch, so I can use that oil. In engine, I don't need to worry about whether it is wet MA or MA2. I'm talking about pre-UC engines. So I don't need to worry about whether the engine oil is MA or MA2. So I can go for multigrade as well. In the gearbox, I can go for, if it is 4-speed, then I have to go for, I must pour basically grease mixed oil. And in the 5-speed gearbox, I have to use only extra pressure 90, that is EP90 oil. So these grades are basically for pre-UC. Now let's talk about UC. Other than Royal Enfield, pre-UC engines, all the bikes are basically UC, like Hero Honda, Pleasure, TVS, or new UC Royal Enfield or Yamaha, Honda. All those bikes are basically UC engine. Now let's talk about UC engines. Let's talk about UC grades. In the UC grade, you have to basically pour only first of all MA or MA2 compliant oil. MA or MA2 compliant oil. In the manual, sometimes company print like you have to use API let's say J or G, SG grade, then JASO MA oil in the engine. But in 2014 we can say you get now M series. See, these are the series A, B, C, D, E, F, G. These are the series. S will be always constant. So SM or SN. Company is saying SM, that doesn't mean that you cannot pour SN. You can also pour SN if it is available, of course. So that means you have to use API SM, JASO MA or MA2, 20W40 or 15W50. These types of oil you have to use all the UC engines. This is for only motorcycles. You cannot use any multigrade. If, as I said again, as I told you earlier, that there are some chemical compositions or friction busters or additives they use in the oil to make it less friction in the car. So these oils you cannot use in the motorcycle because the wet clutch system gets affected because of those friction busters. The basic concept or the weakest part in the motorcycle is clutch, which is based on the concept is clutching of friction. If you use friction buster mixed oil or additives which are there which make it very smooth, will show the negative effect on the clutch system, which basically make very less friction and the clutch starts slipping around. That means what? You will be losing your top speed, or you may be losing your initial power pickup as well. That means you have to pour perfect engine oil. I hope you understand all the basically, or whatever the information I have shared with you is, you're getting my point exactly. So these things has to be there in your mind while buying the oil. You just cannot randomly ask any oil shop fellow, just give me the engine oil for the motorcycle. You have to first tell him that my motorcycle has got a wet clutch system, so I need to know whether it is JASO MA or MA2 complaint. Then you have to check which grade you are taking. The higher grade is the best grade, like SM and then SN. It's like alphabetically, as I said. Then you have to check which grade you are taking, like which related to degrees, like 10W40 or 10W50 or whatever the oils are available. Now, these are things only. Is it the only one thing? No. Second thing which we are forgetting about the scooters. In the scooter, we don't need MA2. You can pour, but you don't need. So what they have done? They have introduced another grade called MB. So you can go for MB grade for scooters like Honda Activa or Yamaha Ray or Hero Honda Pleasure or some kind of scooters which you get in the market. So for that you can go for MB grade, that is JASO MB. So the grade will be like API SM JASO MB 20W40. MB is good for scooters. It has got some friction busters. But very less amount, more less than your motorcycle oil, which are MA or MA2. MA2 has got very different additives. MB has got very different additives. CF or multigrade oils has got very different additives. You cannot mix all together, otherwise it will show negative effect on the motorcycle. Then while pouring also you have to first of all understand from where, how much oil you are pouring. Extra oil might cause a lot of oil leakages or oil seals issue. So you cannot use wrong oil as well as